Well, hello everyone. Long time no see. I know it's been a while since you've gotten to hear our beautiful voices. So, just to remind you all, I do happen to be Alexis or Momo from Momo's Bookshelf.
Hi, I'm Rylee.
And I'm Alysha.
And it is time for us to go back into discussion about the series, which honestly kind of started this off.
So I will go ahead and give us the summary of Onyx Storm. So this is pulled directly from Storycraft. After nearly 18 months at Biscayeth War College, Violet Sorngale knows there's no more time for lessons, no more time for uncertainty, because the battle has truly begun, and with enemies closing in from outside their walls and within their ranks, it's impossible to know who to trust. Now Violet must journey beyond the failing Arishian wards to seek allies from unfamiliar lands to stand with Navarre. The trip will test every bit of her wit, luck, and strength, but she will do anything to save what she loves. Her dragons, her family, her home, and him. Even if it means keeping a secret so big it could destroy everything. They need an army, they need power, they need magic, and they need the one thing only Violet can find, the truth. But a storm is coming, and not everyone can survive its wrath. Rylee.
How has it only been 18 months, though?
It's on the Twilight timeline.
It really is. They should be in year 3 by now. I'm sorry, but whatever. Moving on.
So I guess this is where we introduce Alysha getting on her soapbox about her fan cast.
A few moments later.
Yeah, I'm just gonna end the fan cast there. If you want to see it, if you want to chat about it, check out our Instagram.
I feel like those are the most important ones. Not that Brennan is that important of a character, low key, because
Nikki
clearly we
G
just
did.
forgot about him. But like Nicholas Galitzine, I mean,
We've got to
he's
bring
the
him up
star.
every episode. I had to find a way.
when you guys see me posted up and he's my new husband, don't worry about it. Okay, mind your business.
Alrighty. Well, gotta get to like the story. When you guys read this book, did you guys like go in blind? Did you reread anything? Because I went in not even watching a YouTube video.
Likewise.
And yeah, I just went in totally blind, had no idea where we were starting, and just was like, let's go.
Yeah, I was like, YOLO, I'll figure it out.
You guys are brave. I reread them. So I was slightly more prepared, but I came out equally confused. So that did nothing for me.
Well, did you feel like Iron Flame left off and Onyx Storm started up correctly?
Hell no. No. Anybody who said that this damn book started exactly when Iron Flame ended is a damn liar because I know they say it was like a couple of days or something, but I swear there was like 3 missing weeks of information and a whole plot line that got introduced. And I was like, when did we get here? What meetings did you guys have that I was not there?
Well, thank you for doing your homework and yeah, reading the whole series.
Yes, absolutely.
So I know one of our biggest critiques of Iron Flame was the miscommunication trope. And so what I'm curious from both of you is, did you feel like the characters had character development in Onyx Storm? And let's start with Violet and Zayden. For me, maybe I'll kick off with some thoughts. It seemed to me that there was character growth for our main leading couple, but it was very sudden and too abrupt, especially if we supposedly had this really short time frame between Iron Flame, where we had all of this miscommunication on trust, to go to Onyx Storm, where all of a sudden Violet is just the most supportive GF ever.
Yeah, I mean, since the start of Iron Flame, it's only been 18 months. Now all of a sudden they're like so trusting and stuff. Doesn't make much sense. But you know what else? I'm not going to complain about it because Iron Flame was insufferable with the miscommunication trope. So I don't even care. It didn't even bother me that it didn't make sense because it just made reading it so much more enjoyable. What did you think, Alexis?
Don't even get me started. Okay. I'm gonna try to say this as gently as possible. Just riddle me this. How, as we've mentioned, our biggest like thing after finishing Iron Flame was this miscommunication trope. It was like one of the largest plot lines that was pointed out of why a lot of people did not like Iron Flame. So how, especially pointing off on the fact that like we now recognize how short this timeline is, Rylee just extra emphasized the fact that it's literally been what, like a yearish. They're still in their second year technically at Beskayeth. She spent this entire second book angry and irritated and annoying as hell at Xaden. And then we had to sit here and deal without like stabbing a pen into our eyeballs at this miscommunication trope. And then now in the third book, he's a literal villain, like a thing that could lose control at any moment. And she's like, la 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 la, best boyfriend in the world. He'll never hurt me. And I'm like, what? We spent this entire book, which was like 5 minutes ago in the storyline, with you being mad at him keeping secrets from you. And now he can literally kill you at any point in time. I was like, oh my God. How do we get here? So I just couldn't. And then I feel like Xaden became the Dane of Onyx Storm because the way that like he would just abandon his post when this man like breathes military man, like mission first and everything else later. And now suddenly it's, yeah, so if I channel too much or do anything too much, I can literally turn full venom, no looking back. But don't worry, I'm gonna abandon my post and do all these random things and literally put the entire revolution at what's the word I'm thinking of? I'm gonna risk the entire revolution that we've been plotting. This is why I literally kept secrets from her 5 minutes ago in book 2. But don't worry about it, out the window. Cause everything with Violet, that's more important now. And I'm like, how did we get here?
Yeah, I mean, that was an interesting character development. I see what you mean. Like, the man was AWOL.
Yes. Yes. Like,
but he was also a Duke Alexis, so it's fine.
Plot armor to his AWOL status.
It's fine. He's a Duke. It's like all those times that Prince Harry probably got in trouble. He's a prince. It's fine. It's whatever.
Yeah, I just like Xaden has always been one of my favorite characters of this book series, and I don't know, I did not love the slightly backwards character development that he took, and the fact that he would like coddle her, and before he would like crap on Dane and be like, you just need to let her do what she needs to do, like she's more than smart enough, she's like proved it, and then meanwhile he couldn't trust her to handle anything by himself without getting annoyed that he wasn't being included. Well, because this is not about you. You have your role over there, and Violet has her role over here. And then she just pissed me off. And I say this as somebody who identifies with Violet a lot, like from my own personal experiences. And I had to remind myself she's 21. And when you're 21, you're kind of dumb sometimes. But like, I also just feel like her plateau. I don't feel like she went backwards. I just feel like her character development really plateaued. And then kind of like Alysha said, where it kind of picked up and it just seemed super random and kind of like all at once. I feel like we honestly, like Rebecca Yarros just forgot that this girl was trained from childhood to 18 or 19 to be a scribe. So like to connect this to later on, which we'll get there, but like who all these gods are, like how do we still not know? Violet was literally trained to be a scribe. Also, going back to Xaden's backwards character development, she's literally one of the most intelligent people in the room. She might not be like the most strategic or the most tactical inclined, I guess, because she wasn't trained her whole life to be a writer. But at this point, she did what she needed to do to become a writer. She's obviously super book smart. So, like, how are we not given so much more information. I just feel like she plateaued in this book, and then her whole thing with wanting to, like, not to get gross, but like freaking be on top of Zayden every 5 minutes, when it was like there was way too much stuff. It was giving Sarah J. Maas, and I was not loving that moment, because we all know that's like half the reason why I don't like Akatar. So that is my soapbox about how Violet and Zayden just plateaued or went backwards to me in this book, and it made it really hard for me to get through Onyx Storm, honestly, especially as two main characters.
Yeah, it's hard because I don't know if I felt like Violet plateaued as much as I feel like Rebecca Yarros uses Violet being smart and having access to books as plot armor. And so I think my frustrations went more in that direction than like critiquing Violet's character, but I could see how you can interpret it as like, yeah, where did all the schooling and education go?
Oh yeah, definitely having like the in with the scribes and all that kind of stuff is for sure plot armor. But ultimately, what we knew is that like even one of this girl's calming mechanisms in these super anxiety inducing situations is literally to practice like reciting history to herself, because she had to know all of this in order to, pass these tests to be a scribe if she was going to go that direction, and then she didn't. So I just feel like we lost a lot of pieces of Violet with her obsession with Zayden. And it's like there are so many other things going on. Like Zayden's a piece of it. And I get that you love him and you care about him, but why is that the only thing that we're worried about? And that's what I tended to not love as much with this one. But again, then I had to remind myself, 21-year-old girl, I get it, I guess.
I will say one thing to give Violet some props was at the end, she just focused on her own mission like she was supposed to. And she didn't worry about everybody else. She just did her job and let other people do their jobs. And
She
I
did
appreciated that. That was some good character development, Rebecca. Good job.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's when her plateau kind of broke.
So, thinking on character development, the squad.
I feel like the only person from the whole squad we saw the whole time was Riddick.
Agreed. There just wasn't character development with the squad.
And then Rhea had that one random chapter at the end, which seemed totally unnecessary. Don't understand the point of that. And then Imogene's chapter, don't get me wrong, it pulled on some heartstrings, but it also didn't seem entirely necessary.
Also, let's have some commotion for Rydok, our bisexual king.
He was full of those zingers.
Yes, I was like, okay, Rydok carrying this thing, and then finally we got the confirmation that he's our bisexual king. I was like, yes. I have literally so many quotes by him tabbed in my book right now. But literally, where was the rest of the squad for 523 pages?
No, not pulling out the page count.
I think it was 523. Also to mention about the random chapter switches at the end, points to anyone who can remember Tara, because it's like the first mention that Rhiannon gives since like literally book 1.
Who was Tara again?
That was the girl that Rhiannon was messing around with off and on during Fourth Wing.
Was she older or did she just...
I think she was a first year 2 or a second year.
I don't know. Okay, so she's still like around.
This is the first mention of her since Fourth Wing. So, Alysha, do you remember who Tara is?
I knew vaguely, but I was like, did she have any other plot?
Exactly. See, that's my point. My point exactly. Why did we even mention her, Rebecca? Like,
Well, so talking about pointless subplots.
seamless transition.
So one of the things that annoyed me so much, and this circles back into the religion thing, we spend so much of this book with Violet is stressing over this squad that's getting put together to go with her to go search for the 7th dragon breed. And this subplot just, gets nixed for Violet doing her own thing. Conveniently, people just it like I wish so much that was just never attention in this book, and we would have had all of that for world building on the religion before we went to the Isles.
Or just made the book shorter. It
Or
was a
that.
long book. But yeah, Grady and Aura just like dying anticlimactically was like that seemed too easy. The whole thing seemed too easy. I don't know.
So, second subplot point that was pointless. Halden. Why is there this drama between him and Violet? Why is it necessary? We already know Rebecca is a romance writer. Like, we already had to suffer through Iron Flame. They're not breaking up. Like, why?
Yeah, this kind of goes into my whole point about Zayden's backwards character development, because why would Zayden give a literal actual crap about this man? Like, he mentions in this book so many times about how girlfriend isn't even like a permanent enough title for you. Like, please, nothing about that man was relevant. So to write Zayden to be jealous and over dramatic and extra was so stupid, because it's just like it was so out of character for him. Like the little bit of a jealousy plot point, sure, but not so much that it would like create that many issues.
I mean, that exists, but I meant more towards the subplot of just like him having to be Violet's first love and like
Oh
why
yeah,
that's
because that was
exposed.
the like
And it was
lock
the
code.
answer, yeah, to like it was a passcode. And I was just like, we didn't need this whole subplot to be a passcode.
Oh
Like,
no, definitely not.
and so thinking about her like exes, not exes, could have been an ex, Dane.
Yeah, his redemption arc went low key hard. I was like, all right, Dane, I see you, dog.
Yeah, I mean, he deserved his redemption arc, but also like I don't know, I don't think it was that deep in the beginning. I don't know. I didn't think too much about Dane this book, if I'm gonna be honest.
Mostly, yeah, my thought was just that he got a little too much heat in the first couple books, especially when you're like, honestly, Zayden did half the shit that we're given Dane shit for, so.
Yeah, for real.
I think the whole Dane heat was essentially like book talk and bookstagram's fourth wing version of Tamlin and Reese, but I just I agree. I think the worst thing he did was like he shouldn't have been reading her memories without her knowing, because like that's your friend. And if
But
it was
Zayden was
intentional,
reading
you should have said something.
intentions.
But exactly. Like if we were gonna, that's what I'm saying. Like that's the only thing that I could give him a hard time for. That, but like once it was addressed, it was addressed. But then with Zayden, as soon as she found out, it was like, oh, he. No, that's terrible. Like he shouldn't have been doing it either. Like I understand why you would be quote unquote more mad at Dane because you've known Dane your whole life, but at the same time, you trust this man in a whole different direction, and we're just gonna look past it. Okay. Oh man. Oh.
Right. Moving on to the Isles and the gods and religion and stuff. I know Alysha has a little bit of a soapbox on this one. Overall, I will say I had no strong opinions, but I know you guys did. So tell me about them.
Look, a fantasy book needs world building. And if it doesn't have building, I'm just going to be a little angry. And so this is just going to loop back to I think she is a great romance writer. I think she writes political strategy fairly well. The fantasy side for me still needs more editing and maybe, cutting some subplots that I don't think needed to be there. Could have helped with that world building. Like, we get these set of books from Violet's dad, and they are our life jacket through this entire tour of the Isles that all have these different cultures. They are all like praying to different gods that we know very little about. And we've just got this set of books as plot armor. We have Violet as this previously trained scribe who's just smart and can figure out all these things, and we'll kind of let the readers know as we need them to kind of know some of these subplots. And oh, look, everything worked out, and now we're leaving all the Isles. And I was just like, we had all of these chances to just like thoroughly build out this religion, build out this world, and we just speed ran all of those Isles. And so it just, I wanted it to be longer, and I know that's controversial, but we needed more world building.
Yeah, I don't have much more off of that because I agree that we needed so much more. I won't say more. I'll say stronger world building. I think that's been the biggest point that we've always made when it came to Rebecca Yaros's Fourth Wing or Empyrean series is that she's not a bad writer. She just needs stronger fantasy editors who can kind of clean up a lot of the like random information dumping and plotline dumping that she throws in here to make it quote unquote like more complicated. Um to counter the point, it felt too long, but to agree with Alysha's point, it also didn't feel long enough. Like I feel like by the time we left, it was like, oh, that worked out, like Alysha said, way too easily. But I just feel like I left with way too many questions that I feel like should have been mostly answered by the time we left the Isles, especially with the whole religion system in the Empyrean series. But that's really all I think I left with as far as this part, anyways.
I want to circle back around on that information dumping because, like, I get the argument that Violet's like an unreliable narrator. Alexis reminded me of a really good point that, like, in Fourth Wing, Violet just walked around rambling off facts of history the entire time, which, like, at least somewhat allowed us to get to know the world. That's just, like, completely stopped. Like, we could have even just done that to get some of the religion points out there, some of what she was learning from reading her dad's books out there. Like, there was a device that was set up that could have provided us more information while still staying true to this, like, Violet is an unreliable narrator and we're kind of getting this story live type of vibe.
Yeah, I agree. And I really chalk that up to, and I don't know, and I'm not trying to make it seem like I didn't enjoy the book because I did, but I feel like my biggest critique or my theory, I guess, is I think Rebecca Yaros lost her sense of Violet's voice because even in Iron Flame, we still saw um so much of Violet from Fourth Wing, minus the miscommunication nonsense. And I just feel like in this one, with my critique of like that plateaued character development, I just feel like we lost that very strong sense of who Violet is, which is the writer or the scribe turned writer who, walked around and like stated this random information as like a coping mechanism to stuff. So I don't know. I maybe with other editors involved by the time this book came around, maybe the sense of trying to add more of this world building made her lose a little bit of Violet's voice in the background. I don't know. I obviously am not part of this process, but that's like my theory, I guess, in the background. And but I really am interested to see with the fourth one because I'll probably still read the fourth and fifth one, where she goes with the gods and the religion system because we're definitely noticing more and more that these were way more relevant than we thought. So who knows?
So thinking of these major, like, overarching plots, we also have this whole seventh dragon breed. And Adarna's whole, like, trying to figure out who she is and who her people are, and we meet them, and it's like a blink of an eye.
Yeah, it was like way too fast. Also, like, it got cleaned up or like brought together like too smoothly. Like all of a sudden the one Irid just shows up and like fixes the wards or whatever, and then takes her away, and then Violet's devastated and can't get out of bed, and then all of a sudden Andarna's back at the end. She's like, oh, she was supposed to be gone for years, bruh. How is she already back? I was
Right,
expecting
it
to
gave
see
me,
her
like-
next book.
Yeah, there was like no time to feel conflicted. It's just like, oh, we're chugging right along.
Yeah, and then you leave us the whole book with a big old like cliffhanger. You could have just left Andarna over with her people or her dragons, whatever they are. I don't know. It was too fast.
Yeah, my only thought to add to this is just why. That's all I have.
So yeah, I think we're still seeing a lot of the seventh breed plotline probably come to fruition, and I have one guess for why we had to meet the seventh breed, but I will save it for the theories section. So I'll move us on to our next subplot topic, which is Brennan's marks. I don't really have a lot of strong opinions on this, but I love the idea that maybe he's gay lovers with Nolan and Nolan is Venom.
Oh, I could see that. That would be kind of fun. I did look on the Reddit because I saw that it was highlighted 15,000 times on my Kindle, and was like, this is probably important, but I'm not analyzing this myself. One theory was that, like, when he, like, quote unquote died, Nolan was a siphon that, and, like, you know, brought him back to life or whatever. But to, like, do that, he had to, like, siphon from the earth because, you know, what's her face? Sloane had a siphon from Dane. So he didn't have like anybody else there to siphon into. So he siphoned from the earth and then became Venom. And that's what left the mark. And then when Violet saw that he didn't have like a mark on him after Sloane siphoned, she was like, oh, that's kind of weird. And then the other one was that Nolan turned Venom, and then like Sloane is like the response to that, kind of like how Violet's mom is the response to Theophany. So thanks,
That's pretty
Reddit.
good.
I love
Yeah.
when other people write theories that I don't have to think about. Appreciate you.
They're so
Yeah.
fun to read.
I think the only theory I really came across is in the back of my mind, I've always just had, so my own personal one is in the back of my mind, I've always just kind of had like a nag in the, or like a tug at the back of my mind. Like, it's not if Brennan is bad necessarily, but just we see him play this larger role, obviously, in Iron Flame. Then he kind of just disappears all throughout Onyx Storm, give or take a few scenes that he's in. And I don't know. I'm just like, what is your role here? What are you doing here? And I feel like I thought he was kind of towards the front facing element of the revolution, I guess, but then come to find out that wasn't really the case. So I don't know, something in me just I'm sus about Brennan. But then the theory I saw on Instagram, I think, was that Brennan might be some sort of human wyvern. So like
Oh,
sort of
I
to
saw
do with
that. Yeah, I saw
yeah.
that.
So
What?
kind of from so rather than him being so essentially it was that Nolan or whatever his name is because it's spelled kind of weird that basically he became Venom, right? Like, which is what you were saying, because he was channeling so much. But that because of the fact that he also kind of like right what Rylee was saying, he started like siphoning too. But then because Brennan's a mender, that essentially he like channeled too much by mending Brennan. So Brennan kind of like came back to life. So he's kind of like a human version of a wyvern, basically, because Nolan like mended but channeled from him too much slash became Venom and then like recreated him essentially kind of thing going on. I think the theory when they explain it online is so much better than how I'm saying it, but that's like essentially the foundation to it.
All right, basically the marks, wyvern have marks on them that like revive them or like resuscitate them to be like alive or whatever. So like, does
Oh,
Brennan
yeah.
have this mark to make him like alive, quote unquote?
Yes. I forgot about the mark. I forgot about that other part. Yeah.
I see. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
never thought about that.
Yeah, I thought it was a really interesting theory, which is why I wanted to bring it up for the Onyx Storm episode, because I was like, that's interesting. Like he essentially got brought to life by somebody who maybe channeled too much and became Venom. That's valid. Hmm.
All right, let's move on to another one. So, who do we think is Xaden's quote unquote brother, aka his brother Venom, somebody who turned what seems like probably during that final battle or whatever? I'll let you guys go first because I think you have more popular theories than I do. So,
I mean, my vote right away was for the Speedwalker. It was for Garrick. I mean, he was saying he was exhausted, he could do no more, and then we know he did more. And so I didn't realize there was a debate until I got online. That's how confident I was.
Yeah, I think it's Bodhi since he's the second in line and they were raised together. They're cousins. Literally if something happens to Xaden, Bodhi takes over Tyrandor. So that's the only person that honestly came to my mind. But I get where you picked up on what Garrick was saying. So that makes sense to me too. I thought he was close. What threw me off is he seemed close to both of them in book one. But by the time Iron Flame into like Onyx Storm came, he seemed closer to Garrick than Bodhi because I think Bodhi was still at school. But Bodhi is his actual relative.
I don't think this is a brother in sense of who's closer to Xaden though. I think it's who turned Venom, like who's his now Venom brother.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't know, like, if you focus on the brother capacity or whatever, um, that's why I feel like Bodhi would make sense to the technical term, but Garrick would make sense based off the context. But also, like, where's Bodhi this whole book? Like, I feel like he was just kind of sus the whole time too. But I don't know. What's Rylee's off the wall theory?
I don't know why, but immediately I thought it was Riddick for some reason. Like, immediately thought it was him. And I think it was just because he had so much character development this book, and he was like a real focus in this book. And he was like so adamant about telling like the group and the squad and everybody that Xaden had become a Venom and that it was like really important to him. And then like Xaden says something about like I never would have expected this person to turn, and my immediate thought was Riddick for some reason. I don't think that's very popular. I've also seen online it being Eric, but I don't think that makes sense just because they weren't friends, Xaden and Eric. So I don't think that checks out. Go ahead, Alysha.
So I like an idea where there was so much Rhydock character development because we needed Rhiannon to have a buddy for the next book when the squad has to stand up to Xaden and Violet.
That's also fair. This was just my initial gut reaction.
Oh yeah, that's fair. It wasn't until I heard your gut reaction that I started thinking about, yeah, what role does Rhydock play? So it was like kind of helping me put my own pieces together.
I heard the theory is that that's a good one though, Alysha, about like them needing a squad to basically stand up to Violet and Xaden. I didn't even think about that. I think the one theory I saw when it came to Write Up were people online basically saying at Rebecca Yaros, this better not be you, basically setting up for Write Up to die in book 4. I was like, ooh,
Maybe he dies because he's the Venom and he turned
maybe.
bad.
I don't know. That as off the walls that seems, I that would be wild. I think that would really take everybody for an element of surprise. Like they'd be like, "What the hell?" That also would not have been who I was expecting.
As much as I want to be like, yeah, kill off a few characters, I just don't feel like she can kill off one of the like 3 characters she's bothered to give character development to.
Quest
Because we're just
Squad.
gonna have to sit through a whole another character being developed so we feel something about anybody in books 4 and 5. That's so late.
Unless she pulls a J.K. Rowling, which is also one of my theories, and like basically kills half the people in the last book, like J.K. Rowling did.
I'd be fine with that. I mean, I would be devastated, but I like it when authors do that.
Right. I mean, that's what made Deathly Hallows so memorable because you were like, oh yeah, the one where basically everybody dies. Oh, okay. So I mean, it would definitely make book 5 memorable. It would really leave the series on a bang. Like,
Well, thinking of going off in a bang and like, I don't know, kind of like storms, I think Alexis had some thoughts on. I don't. I called her Theo the entire book. Stephanie?
yeah, I called her Theo short for short too because I had
So I
the
switched
opening
halfway. Yeah, so halfway through I switched to the audiobook and it's Theophany.
Theophany. I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate it. But I mean, I guess it sort of makes sense. Yeah. So I guess this kind of takes into weird theory later, but my main thoughts on it was so I was decently interested in this plot. Like it kind of started to tie in the whole random dream thing, which honestly also was really funny to me because like the first 300 pages we forgot about that until it randomly came up again in this book and I was like, "Oh, okay, we didn't forget about that. That's nice." But then it was like Theophany was introduced, then we kind of forgot about it. Then the dreams that we forgot about kind of came back. And then there were these random points where it was like, oh, yeah, just a reminder that this plot still exists here in the background. And honestly, I'm just kind of confused as to what role she's really supposed to be playing because she's not the sage. We thought she was also a lightning wielder, but then that like ended up being debunked. And so I just left a little confused. I might have to go back and reread. I also chalked this confusion up to the amount of strong pain medication I was taking. So feel free to share your thoughts and takeaways, but I really want to see us go somewhere with this because it was a really this was one of the more relevant quote unquote I guess plot lines that I saw while reading Onyx Storm.
So I think she was like a sage. She wasn't the sage. So they end up naming the sage that's appeared in like Zayden's dreams and stuff, and references that that sage is also like the sage for Jack Barlow and whoever the new brother is. So Theophany is a sage. He's just not the same as like the sage we were talking about earlier.
And that's all we know so far.
I think part of just having more of these characters pop up on the Venom side was to show it's just not like this blob of bad guys attacking mindlessly. Like this was an attempt to provide some kind of like context to the quote culture of the Venom. And like something bigger is happening on that side of the war as well. Because they were kind of like written off as like kind of just mindless for the first couple books.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I maybe this is the slow build to the deeper Venom plot. But okay, I'm glad it's not just me that didn't feel like we walked away with a ton of information when it came to her. That makes me feel a little better.
So what other weird theories do you guys have? Because I have none. I finished this book last night, so I haven't had time to process that. So, Alysha, what other theories do you have?
I got some theories. So I finished this book with 3 primary theories in my mind. So I'm just gonna rapid fire these, and then if there's one that you all have some interest in, we can discuss, or we can just move along with rapid fire of weird theories. First of all, I think Violet is getting power from the sky. I think this because she channeled on an isle that did not have power in the ground. And I think this is what's happening with the 7th dragon breed from our bit of interactions with them. And there's these multiple allusions to like she has this unharnessed power that's endless. And like I think they just explicitly say sky in one of those quotes. So I think Violet's channeling from the sky. And so I think that is like a whole nother pot of power she hasn't even began exploring. I think that speaking of some Harry Potter references, I think her wedding ring is a Horcrux and it has the part of Xaden that loves her in it, because that's just kind of fun. And lastly, I finished this book and felt like Violet low-key might be pregnant, but that would also make me kind of mad. And I thought this immediately upon closing the book. Obviously, we've all been on the internet since then. I am not one of the readers who thought Violet was pregnant during this entire book. Like, I don't think she's gonna. Well, we just found out the first 2 books were 18 months, so this was what, probably like another 3 months. But I don't think she's like popping out a baby anytime soon. I think it was her chronic illness impacting her for the majority of the travel across the Isles. It was just all the talk about who's going to be the heir, who's next. You have to stay safe. And like just like every Isle was bringing it up. It was so much of the conversation that I was just kind of like low key suspicious. And then the rushed wedding just put me a little over the edge on the suspicion. So those were my 3 weird theories when I closed this book.
She's pregnant. I rage. Doesn't make any sense.
I'll be
I'll
so
rage with you.
pissed.
I mean, I will be raging.
I'll be so irritated.
She's done too many dangerous things. It doesn't make sense. Anyway, we're gonna move on from that. Otherwise, we're gonna get too passionate. One thing that we did this book that we haven't done in the past is we actually use Storygraph's buddy read system. Basically, you get a bunch of people together and you could all join the buddy read, and you put comments throughout reading it at like whatever percentage or whatever page number you're on. And then it prevents spoilers for other people, and people could comment on your comments, and you kind of get to see everybody's thoughts throughout. And I really enjoyed this. Granted, I was the last person to finish reading it, so I got to read everybody else's comments as I was going through. But yeah, I thought it was super fun.
On the flip side, I really enjoyed it, even though I was the first person to leave all the comments throughout. I felt a little bit like I was just talking to myself, but then I kept getting to circle back and see what you guys were experiencing as you were reading it, and I found that to be really fun.
It was also fun having some of our like other listeners like join in on our buddy read. So thank you people who joined in on our buddy read. It was very fun to see your thoughts too.
You're keeping me company.
Yeah, no, it was really cool. I actually really would like to do it again. I honestly had forgotten about it because I had done the reread of Fourth Wing and Iron Flame first. But when I remembered it, I was like, oh my God. And it was really cool to kind of see all the different people comment and share their thoughts as they went through. So that was cool.
So thinking of our thoughts on this book, what did you all rate it?
So I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was very good overall. Like I gave it a 4 out of 5. I wouldn't say it was a 5 because I really had no problems like putting it down at any point. Like I never felt like I had to see what was happening next, or like I spent all night reading it or whatever. So which is why I wouldn't rate it higher than that. But I did definitely like it a lot more than Iron Flame, which Iron Flame I consumed really quickly, but I didn't necessarily like love it. So yeah, 4 out of 5. I did switch to the audiobook halfway through just so I could get through it faster while I was doing chores around the house. And the audiobook was actually quite good. Figured out how to pronounce some things that I didn't know how to pronounce before, which I thoroughly enjoyed. So thanks, audiobook.
Overall, I think I'm still processing. Right now I have it at a 3.5 out of 5. Even though I do agree that it was a lot less cringy than Iron Flame, I just think that Onyx Storm felt a little messy. I may go back and reread minimum the last 100 pages because, in my defense, I was reading those on Percocet. So to be determined if it stays 3.5. I will say though that I still am kind of holding on to my theory, my personal theory, that it might have been in Xaden's plans to always kind of quote unquote end up as Venom to take it down from the inside, especially with this apparently like predetermined, we're just going to randomly get married storyline at the end of Onyx Storm, but we'll see. I think personally, Fourth Wing is still the best of the three, and Iron Flame and Onyx Storm are tied for me, but just for different reasons, I think.
For me, this book was good, but needed a lot more world building. I ultimately settled on a 4.25 after some reflection. Very much like the both of you. Like, I enjoyed it while I was reading it, but didn't really have any issues putting it down. It was good. I'll read the next two. I want to reread Fourth Wing. I could probably skip rereading Iron Flame.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to continue the series, but yeah, I'm not going to reread anything. Not about that life.
You're here for the vibes the first time around.
Hell yeah.
So, with that, thank you guys for joining. And next month, we will once again be reading a book by a female author for Women's History Month.
All right. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.